Are you a good witch or a bad witch? A bored witch or a bland witch? My man witch! Hermes, what are you doing here? This isn't Futurama, this is York Witches Society. Written and directed by Liza Bolton, who did The Wandering and Serena's Game. Also written by Felipe Martinez, not to be confused with Ryan Felipe Martinez, who I'm sure is an actor that exists somewhere. He did Wake of Death starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and also Father Christmas is Back. And this was also written by the Marchetti brothers, Brian and Jack, who did a few Christmas movies. Check out the respective IMDb pages to see which ones. That's right, 4 people wrote this. 4 people wrote this. I want you to fucking keep that in mind as we go on. So Georgia Locke plays Amber. She's the titular character. Titular, of course, is the word I react to with the good taste and maturity that everybody has come to expect from this channel. And if you expect good taste and maturity, that means you're a new viewer, and thank you very much for tuning in. So she is the titular character, and there's Sydney Craven, who plays, I guess, her best friend, Kristen, and there's also Rose Quinton, Adwa Akado. I apologize if I mispronounced that name, I really do. Vivian Mills, Sophie Bloor, Sasha Clark, Kirsty Ann Shaw, and Finbar Lynch. Finbar Lynch sounds like either a tool or a technique you would use to put up a house. I need a Finbar Lynch! So anyway, now that I've offended everybody across the pond that could possibly be watching this, this basically is about witches. If you could not guess that from a movie called York Witches Society, I really don't know what to tell you. So there's an opening scene set in Yorkshire, England, 1604, that sets up the rest of the movie. Sort of, kinda, maybe. And it turns out there's this woman that's burned at the stake, and she places a curse on all your houses! And then that plays into the present day, where Amber Gray is talking to her grandmother, or a familiar relation, and she's going off to a major unnamed university where they earn their 2 degree. The teaching staff's been getting less since 1933. They're tiny in students and all a little prudent, but then they are British and you join the fun, and now the song is done. So basically what ends up happening is she doesn't quite fit in, but she wants to learn shit. And then she basically is given a necklace by her grandmother that was her mother's. A necklace that might absolutely mostly play into the rest of the goddamn movie. This movie basically takes a notepad and hits you in the fucking head with every goddamn cliche. That hurt less than the goddamn script. In case I'm not tipping my hand enough, this movie was not very... 4 people wrote this! 4! Was everybody like, were 3 of them like all drunk and they decided to have one other person take over? Okay, we'll take turns. One person write one scene. We'll all drink, pass out for 2 hours, and then somebody will wake up in a drunken stupor and write another scene that doesn't have any correlation to the other scene. But we'll just human centipede them together and present this to people. And people love witches. They think the craft is really good, and the craft is really good. The craft legacy, not so much. But let's just take the bare bones of every witch idea and essentially just present to everybody. Okay, the rest of the plot, such as it fucking is, Amber meets Kristen, who's obsessed with witches and also has, figured out all the cliques at this major university that consists of all of 20 fucking people because they couldn't afford that many. Now, I'm not going to knock. If you're an independent horror movie and you have a little bit of funding and you have an idea with a little bit of ingenuity, you can make it fucking work. But again, there's only like 20 fucking people here, and it's bare bones shit. It hits you over the fucking head constantly with every possible fucking cliche. And it's so, and there's nothing wrong with being obvious, but at least make it entertaining. Don't make it so painfully generic where you're bashing people over the fucking head. Anyway, it turns out that Amber catches the eye of the York Witches Society, that she originally calls the York Bitches Society. And through a series of events and cliches, they end up forming a bond, seemingly, and then an evil gets released, and they must fight back against it, despite the fact that only one of them is an actual witch. If you cannot guess which one is an actual witch, I can't fucking help you. So yeah, in case I'm not tipping my hand enough, I fucking hated this, and here's why I fucking hated this. The idea isn't bad. Generic, but not bad. You have a bunch of British girls that probably could go on to do better things. They all seem to be trying. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they're definitely trying with whatever they're doing. But direction, it's not easy to make a movie. It's not fucking easy. But when you direct a movie so fucking generically, and I don't even think generically is actually a word, but I'll just make it up. and you have 3 other fucking writers besides yourself, you're gonna run into problems. It's the bare bones of an idea that basically just gets stretched the fuck out. I know I have said this ad nauseum, and I apologize. But some of these indie movies work well at 80 minutes, even if the concept's a little bit stretched out. Glorious was a pretty good one. Who Invited Them? Less so. Some other movie, Salome. That one was actually pretty good. I mean, that was a little bit different, but indie horror movies can work if you have the right idea and you make things work. Unfortunately, this movie didn't make anything work. It decided to just do it in the most bare bones, generic way possible. And the acting was absolute shit. They were trying, but the script was absolute dog shit. Maybe a couple of the screenwriters went out to break, and then a couple other scenes were written. This just had no fucking cohesion to it. It basically came to pass that, well, everything that we thought was going to play out the way it did ended up playing out. And also, here's the problem, and this is not necessarily a spoiler, but once we get to the point where the evil demonic force is released, they get to where a fog is laid over the scenes, over the outside scenes. And it makes it hard to see, but it also makes it pretty obvious that one of two things. They're filming on a set because they couldn't afford to film in the dark, or they couldn't really afford much of anything in the way of special effects. Everybody just had to thrash around like goddamn idiots, like they were being attacked by something. Again, something stays scary the less you see of it. That has been something I've said in other reviews, and ingenuity is key. This movie has no ingenuity. It has nothing. It has nothing good to offer. Again, pretty British girls, and Welsh, and, I assume other accents. They're trying to make this work, but it's just stupid. It's just, lean into the comedy, do some dark comedy, honor the material, but yes, it was bullshit that these women got burned at the stake for simply being women. They actually weren't witches. I mean, a few might have been, but let's not target women just because they're women. Thank God nobody does that anymore. So anyway, maybe this might be a bit of symbolism for how women are still treated even now. At least it doesn't quite do it in the way that Black Christmas 2019 did. Fucking hell. This movie ends up being absolute dog shit. Absolute goddamn dog shit, with everything stretched out to its fucking limits. Anybody that gets killed in stupid goddamn ways, thanks to their own stupidity and lazy fucking screenwriting by one of the 14,000 screenwriters that they have. And yes, everybody needs a hero. They need a hero at the end of the night. And they gotta be strong, and they gotta be fast, and they gotta be witchier than light. No, I don't know what the fuck I'm on about. Basically, what this movie boils down to is bare bones of a witch story, and nothing good. Nothing goddamn good at all. It is just absolutely mind-numbingly stupid. I'm going to get into spoilers here. It's a few bucks on Amazon if you really want to rent it. I don't know why. And again, suckers like me will rent it. I've seen worse, don't get me wrong, but this is really, really goddamn bad. It's right up there with that Hunting Souls movie that I watched. Though Hunting Souls at least was a little bit humorous. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so, yeah, it turns out Amber Gray is actually related to the girl, or the woman that got burned at the stake in the beginning of the movie. And there's this guy, Matthias Alistar, that is bound, determined to kill every single last witch. Last witch, miss, I gave you my heart, and very next day I burned at the stake. So anyway, she ends up summoning this Matthias Alistar guy. It's very obvious she's a witch. It's very obvious that her mother gave that because, oh yeah, she's a descendant. Or maybe she's a fucking immortal. I mean, they never really explain that. Not that I really fucking care. People end up getting killed in humorous ways. The movie is predominantly a generator maintenance-based film in the second half, where there's this generator operating this little guest house area that used to be the gallows. Oh no, I wonder if it's going to be a haunted place. They pressure Amber to join them after Amber makes this teacher's ears bleed and scares her by setting the projector on fire because she has these witchy powers, because she's like, how dare you blow off all the stuff that happened to these witches. And then basically she ends up summoning this Matthias guy, and then the witches are all upset, or the witch society girls are all upset because, oh my god, it's like, you ended up summoning this, you have to stop this. How dare, we didn't want you in this group. Except you totally fucking invited her into the goddamn group, you dumb twats. So anyway, more people die. One girl gets an axe in the back of her head, which is pretty much a metaphor for stupidity in this movie. One girl gets pulled apart while everybody else is trying to get away in the car, and the girl's tied between the car and the tree, and then they crash into the tree because woman driver. Am I right, lads? Ha ha! That'll determine that no women will ever watch my shows again. And there's this one scene right when the guy gets summoned, that Kristen, Sydney Craven, she says she remembered all these lines and everything, and then Amber has to feed them to her. It's like that Bernstein Bears, "Hear Me, Oh Princess." I was deep in the forest, and this I heard. If anybody goddamn gets that reference, I will be amazed. That's one of the deepest fucking cuts I have ever done in one of my reviews. And so people end up getting killed. That Matthias Allistar guy comes in, and Amber finally discovers her powers after the last two survivors, besides her, get bonked around a whole bunch of furniture, like Matthias Allistar is Ike Turner. And then she summons her powers and burns them in this circle that they have. And then everything's fine. Everything's goddamn fine. Also, the generator is working. Thank fuck the generator's working. I'm glad we spent so much time on that scene. And then that other scene. Fuck. Who thought this was a good goddamn idea? Goddamn. The more I think about it, the more I do hate this movie. God damn it. Anyway. F. Fucking F. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.